Hello, this is Ronald Francis David Hunt. It is June 25th, 2020. I'm here at the beach at Sunny Isles, Florida, amidst the COVID-19 scare of 2020. Rather ironically, the world is very concerned about the spread of coronavirus, and I find myself down here in one of the hot spots at the present moment, Miami Beach, Florida. It's kind of a scary time, and it makes me think back to the time when I was going through the AIDS pandemic of the late 20th century, the late 1980s, 1990s. Very similar. I was watching a documentary this morning in the middle of the morning on Larry Kramer, the AIDS activist that wrote The Normal Heart and who was sort of instrumental in getting ACT UP founded in New York City. And he had a quote on there. He said, AIDS is intentional genocide. I think AIDS was an intentional genocide to clear out certain people that certain members of society felt were not worthy. George Saniatu said those who do not learn from history are bound to repeat it. We haven't learned that using illness and disease as a weapon is harming our culture and stealing from us very valuable members of our society that have something to contribute, even though they may be a little different than the norm. You know, Larry Kramer taught about responsibility. He was telling the government they had to take responsibility for all the tax-paying citizens and find treatment and cure and services for the people that were dying of AIDS. He was telling families they had to put aside their differences and make amends and accept one another in their differences. And he was telling gay men that they had to take responsibility that their lifestyle was killing them and to at least slow down and be responsible. I think Larry Kramer was an intelligently wise man, even though he was a lot like me, very confrontational and really upset a lot of powerful people. He was basically trying to teach people to be responsible. I think that's basically what we all have to do, is learn to be responsible, that how our actions affect other people. And I'm finding myself in 2020, and it's kind of sad because I'm down here basically in the middle of this pandemic, in the middle of a infected virus that's affecting a lot of people. And I'm here because I'm afraid in July I may have a repeat of last year. The life in me last year in July 1st could not stand up. And I ended up in the hospital for the first time in many years for physical symptoms rather than psychological symptoms. And that was the first time I went in the hospital, and I went again in February 21st of 2020. And beginning to realize that my healing process is leading me back to the hospital to take antibiotics, to get me back, to send me home, to get well, to get ill again. I found the courage after the second time of doing that just to go on hospice. And if history repeats itself, and we don't really know whether history will repeat itself, but if history repeats itself, I may get ill again in July. And my intent is just to let nature take its course, that God's will be done. God will either have me get well, or God will allow me to make my transition to the next part of my life, my next afterlife, my next movement through eternal time. instead of continually going back to the hospital, getting antibiotics, getting well, going back for 6 months, getting well, and getting knocked back down, if that does happen this year in July, my intention is just to allow the power of God to take me on to whatever God has in store for me in the future. So I kind of wanted one last hurrah at the beach before I had to deal with that, if I have to. It may not happen in July, but if it does, I guess I'm at peace leaving this world, but I wanted to go to the beach one more time. So I'm here in Sunny Isles, Florida. I'm going to go down to Haulover Beach in a few hours to the nude beach and have a skinny dip. I did that yesterday morning. And I hope that you all have a joyful life. The world is kind of all stressed out over racial equality, over viruses. I think the one thing that we do have, we can take responsibility for our actions. We can realize that how we treat one another affects one another. The sunrise is here today. I'm sure it's kind of unsteady and I didn't do a very good job as a video photographer. But I thank you for all the many wonderful blessings in my life. I thank you for the ability to come down here to this beautiful place, see a sunrise. And I thank all the people past, present, and future that have helped me have a life so that I can sit here and look back upon it with some appreciation and joy for all that you did for me. Thank you for all the beautiful people that have been my friends, and even those of you that have been my enemies, for you've taught me something I would not have learned otherwise. May all the life within us be blessed in God's peace, protection, and grace. Amen. And so it is. Namaste. So be it. Shante. Sila. Shalom.